Welcome into the front office's first version of the Great Debate. This is Matthew Zimmer and Nathan Sarles to my right on the screen. If you guys don't remember us, we're the co-founders of the front office. A little bit of backstory. The Great Debate actually started when we were in high school, and we wrote for the school newspaper, The Scroll, at Sunset in Portland, and we started a sports debate column. It's going to be a lot easier for us to debate face-to-face instead of trying to do it paragraph by paragraph. So a little bit about me, in case you haven't read our bios on the website. I'm a senior at Washington State, studying to become a broadcast major, hoping to be on ESPN or something like that someday. And pass it over to Nathan.
So obviously I'm Nathan, as Matt introduced me, and I'm a junior at Oregon State studying accounting and finance, but hoping to work with that in the front office of a sports franchise, no pun intended, and use that as maybe some cutting edge sabermetrics or a new twist on salary cap or payroll for some team in need of help.
All right. Now that you know who you're listening to, we're going to dive right into our first topic of the first Great Debate, and that is the 2014 NBA Draft, which is Thursday, June 26th on ESPN. So what we've done is we're going to go from 30 to 1, not all in one video. We won't make you sit through all of that. That would take forever. Nathan, I'll let you go first. We're going to go to number 30 with the San Antonio Spurs.
So with the first pick, I chose KJ McDaniels out of Clemson, a tough, long wing player that can help them play under Kawhi's wing, learn from him, and hopefully be part of their next phase and process once Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker move on.
Interestingly enough, I went after a guy who was injured this last year and played in the Pac-12. His team went off to a really hot start. He played really, really well in those first, I believe it was like 10 to 15 games. I'm going with Spencer Dinwiddie, the shooting guard out of Colorado. I think the Spurs will take him because, in all honesty, I don't love Danny Green. They need to retool a little bit, and I think if they were able to get a shooting guard like Spencer Dinwiddie, that can fill the gap and kind of not necessarily start to phase out Danny Green, but it gives them a chance to have a legit starting shooting guard. Now moving on to number 29, the Oklahoma City Thunder.
With that pick, I had them taking Jordan Adams out of UCLA. Not the best player or the biggest player, but one who really knows how to get the ball into the basket and do what he has to, whatever is needed to score. That's something the Thunder need off their bench. They really lack kind of that extra piece at times, and I think he could bring that to them and help them in the playoffs. Maybe not in the regular season he would be needed with kind of their new bench players, but I think soon he will develop well behind someone like Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook.
So I went with a position that I think they really need to upgrade, in my opinion. The shooting guard position is something that I think lacks with the Thunder. They do have two of the best shooters in the NBA with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, but they do need a third scorer. That's what they had with James Harden. James is a Rocket now. So I think you've got to go with C.J. Wilcox. I think he's kind of a sleeper, another shooting guard from the Pac-12. I'm kind of being a homer at the bottom end of the draft. However, C.J. Wilcox is a really good guard, and I think the Thunder would be thrilled to have him. They might even be able to get him after the first round, but I think if they see a run of shooting guards start to go, they might jump at C.J. if the chance comes.
So moving to the 28th pick with the Clippers, I have them taking Mitch McGary out of Michigan. Not a guy we thought would be in the draft, but after his incident with his marijuana and the NCAA, he decided it was best to go pro and hurt for a lot of the season with his back. But after his freshman year, people were raving about him, thinking maybe the Blazers would pick him with the 11th pick, I think it was, saying they needed someone like him. And he's an undersized center. That's been a recent trend we've seen in the league.
Yes.
So I don't think there's any harm there for a team that's lacking depth in every area in the front court. I think they could really use a guy like him who's tough, strong, will put in all the work they need and is willing to be under someone's wing and come off the bench.
I went small forward, and I went with one of the most recent NCAA champions, and I went with DeAndre Daniels. Don't have a whole lot to say about him, just that I think he's a first-round talent, and that the Clippers would be thrilled to get a small forward who I think can play really well. Moving on to the Phoenix Suns. At 27, I have the Suns picking a guy you had falling a little farther than this. I picked KJ Daniels, the small forward out of Clemson. I think that the one position that the Suns can, add some depth to, because they have 3 picks. So this is their last pick of the first round. In all honesty, I don't even know if they'll have this pick. I think they could honestly trade this if they really wanted to. But if they stick at 27, I say KJ Daniels is the pick.
With the Suns, I have them taking Cleanthony early out of Wichita State. Not the fastest or the best player, but a gritty player. Play for a blue-collar team, hard, knows what he has to do. And in the Suns system, that's what Coach Hornacek's really asking of them currently, is just play hard on defense, and that will give you chances on offense. And if you can do that, you'll earn a spot on their roster.
The Miami Heat. So, Nathan, who do you have them taking?
I have them taking Kyle Anderson out of UCLA, similar to Cleanthony early. Not the best guy or the fastest guy, the one that will work hard and fit into themselves, a guy off the bench. Kind of a Chris Anderson type of player that will work hard, get his rebounds, but a much better scorer than Birdman is. When he has the ball in his hands, he's a very crafty player.
My biggest concern is the point guard position. Mario Chalmers showed that he is pretty inept in a lot of areas during the finals. He barely got to play in the last 2 games. I don't even think he got to play in Game 4, if I remember correctly. And if he did, it was very minimal minutes. So I have them taking the other UConn Husky that I have in the draft this late, and that is Shabazz Napier. I think that he's the perfect point guard. He's smart, he's savvy, he knows what he's doing, he's a 4-year player. He's going to come into the NBA humbled. I think that the Houston Rockets should take Adrian Payne out of Michigan State. I think he will fall as far as some of the experts think he will. Not necessarily because of a lack of talent or anything else, just that other players are going to get picked based on need.
With the Rockets, I have them taking Glenn Robinson III out of Michigan, the second Michigan player off the board at this point. Similar to a lot of the players I have drafted in these later picks, just a gritty player that will work hard. He's kind of a hybrid 3-4 forward player. You probably want him at the 4, but he could do some 3 if you need. He's just a big guy that will muscle down low. I think fit in well with Dwight Howard. He's just a powerful guy that's kind of just bodied people around in college, and I think that'll definitely change in the pros. But he can learn a lot with how he's played so far from Dwight in Houston.
That'll do it for our first video of the Great Debate. We went 30 through 25. We're going to hit 24 through 20 on our next video and maybe go farther. We realized the first video went a little long, so we're going to try to do our best on the next one. So stay tuned for the next set of the NBA Mock Draft 2014. This is Matthew Zimmer and Nathan Sarles signing out.